USC plays Michigan on Saturday. They don't need to just make a good impression in Ann Arbor. USC needs to win the game.
You are Locked On Trojans, your daily podcast on the USC Trojans, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Fight on, everyone. I'm your host, Mark Culkin, and thank you. Thank you for making Locked On USC part of the Locked On Network, your first listen every day. Whether you're watching this show on YouTube, wherever you're going to download your podcast, the show is always going to be free, and the show is always going to appreciate your support. Today's episode is brought to you by 5 Hour Energy. Go to 5hourenergy.com. That's the number 5hourenergy.com and use promo code LOCKEDONCFB to receive 20% off your order. Time to change the narrative, guys, gals, peoples. When the season started, before the season even began, before anybody kicked off the ball, most people thought, you know what, if USC was 2-1, there was going to be hope for this team. If USC opened the season 3-0, it would probably be an amazing opening to the season. A lot to look forward to for the rest of the year, right? I shouldn't say most, a lot of people, many said, you know what? USC is probably going to open the season 1-2. That's just too tough of a schedule. You open up with LSU in Las Vegas, come home, you get the gimme game against Utah State, on the road against the reigning national champion Michigan. USC be lucky if they're 2-1. Well, guess what? At this point, USC's 2-0. Anything less than 3-0, I think would probably be a letdown to. I know it would be a letdown to Trojan fans, and I know how I would feel. Michigan is 2-1. Okay, they're ranked 18th. And they did win last week. They beat Arkansas State, but they were actually the 17th ranked team heading into that game. So after they lost to Texas at home, Michigan dropped all the way down to number 17. They win. They drop another rung on the ladder. That should tell everybody something. USC is ranked 11th going into this game. That's 12 spots better than when they started the season. Before they kicked off against LSU, USC was considered the 23rd best team in the country. 2 games later, they're sitting at number 11, just outside the top 10. We'll get to that. We're going to talk about the polls a little bit later in the show. Stick around. Stick around for that. Not so much the AP poll. We're going to talk about the coaches poll. Sort of. Anywho, so you know that when I'm not doing the Locked On USC podcast, I'm spending the bulk of my other time over there at wearesc.com. And me and my working relationship partners over there, we got Eric McKinney and Chris Arledge, part of the Inside the Trojan Huddle. They're saying 9-3, 10-2. Eric McKinney, he had them at 9-3. Arledge, he said, you know what, I'll go 10-2 with a caveat. You know me, I went full homer. I said USC was going to go 10-2 this year. And that was after I watched their scrimmage. So before the season started, I saw something and said, you know what? This team has a chance. Now, after USC's played 2 games, if USC finished 9-3, I think that would probably be a disappointment. Because remember, the schedule is front-loaded. It's the backside of the schedule that's the easier part of the schedule. So while 9-3 would probably suck, I mean, it would be an improvement over last year. And again, depending on the losses, how they happened, why they happened, yada, yada, yada. I think everyone would agree. Right now, the floor, the low ceiling should be 10 wins. I'm at the stage right now, especially if USC beats Michigan, I'm ready to adjust my pick to 11-1. I think it's more than doable. Now we get to take advantage of the way USC's schedule is set up. Okay. Ann Arbor is probably going to be the toughest road game left. Seattle will be hard too. But, if you were watching games over the weekend, Wazoo, Washington State, they took out some of their anger for being left behind. Yeah, they beat Washington, and they beat them convincingly. And so you had that. If you watched like I did, you saw Michigan. They struggled. They struggled to win at home against Arkansas State. This is why USC needs to not just show up and look good, look like they belong on the same field with Michigan. No, 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 no. We're way past that. USC needs to win. And the reason being is Michigan does not have a quarterback. They have no idea how to move the ball through the air right now with any type of consistency. I guess that's probably the best way to put it. USC has Miller Moss, who I already said, arguably he might be the best quarterback in the conference. I know others will make the argument for Will Howard at Ohio State, and don't forget Grandpa over there at Oregon, Dylan Gabriel. But right now, and you got Drew Allar at Penn State. So USC, Miller Moss, definitely part of the top 4. I would say he could be the best. Anyways, that's beside the point. Michigan has the home field advantage. They've got a pretty good defense still, but nothing like last year's. Okay. USC's offense isn't as potent as they're not as much of a quick strike offense, at least so far through their first 2 games. However, USC, they brought their running game back. The tight ends are back. Boring football is back at USC, and it's fun to watch. Imagine when the wide receivers and the running backs and the tight ends, they all get together on the same page. They all have strong games together. That hasn't happened yet. It's happened in pieces throughout the first 2 games, but they haven't been the dominant force on offense yet that I think everyone was anticipating. When those guys all come together, when the wide receivers are clicking, they're not dropping touchdown passes, when the running backs are doing what they're doing, and the tight ends continue to do what they're doing, it's going to make defending USC almost impossible. We saw a little bit, LSU, they wore down. Utah State, they never had a chance. There was just USC's talent level versus Utah State's night and day. USC has to win this game. They are considered the better team. Okay. Remember, before the season, people were looking at some of those preseason betting lines. The smart gamblers, they jumped all over USC when they saw it was +8. Michigan was considered the favorite in that game before the season started by more than a touchdown. That was before the season kicked off. Not anymore. Now the Trojans are a touchdown favorite on the road. Again, this is why they need to win. Not because they have to cover the spread. I don't care how much they win by. They need to win the game. Before the season, looking good on the road when you play at Michigan, that was like the goal. You didn't want to look like UCLA looked at home against an Indiana team. So that was USC's goal. Don't look like UCLA. The goalposts have shifted. I mean, I am picking them up right now, and I'm moving them over here. It's clear. It should be clear to everybody. USC is the better team. Compared to Michigan, by far. They have a complete team on both sides of the ball. You got your offensive line, you got your quarterback, running backs, wide receivers, tight ends. Michigan, they've got their defense, and it's still not even as good as it was last year. They still got those 2 big pieces in the middle, Kenneth Grant, Mason Graham. But their defensive tackles, they get worn down. You got Will Johnson back there at cornerback. And they've got some other nice pieces. But they're a shell of what they were in 2023 when they won the whole thing. So again, USC, complete team on offense. D'Anton Lynn, USC's new defensive coordinator, he isn't a flash in the pan. If people were thinking, you know what, we'll see what happens with USC as the season goes along, don't keep hoping for a breakdown. It ain't happening. He did it at UCLA. And so far, Coach Lynn's voodoo is working at USC. They look really good on defense. Look, I'm forced to believe that if Michigan couldn't figure out their quarterback situation during the summer and all through fall camp, through their first 3 games, I don't know why all of a sudden Sharon Moore, their head coach, is going to get it figured out before Saturday. What I do anticipate from Michigan is a big dose of their running game. And if their star tight end, Colton Loveland, is healthy, he'll be their number 1 target. Again, who's playing quarterback? If the backup who came in for Davis Warren, Alex Orji, is the starter, he's a dangerous runner. He has another dynamic. But he's a terrible thrower. And this is where D'Anton Lynn takes over. I like his ability to make Alex a thrower, to be able to keep him in the pocket, keep him from getting outside, using his legs. Look, if there's any skepticism about this USC defense, they can erase it on Saturday. They need to stop that Michigan run game. LSU may or may not have a good run game. Okay, they may or may not have been a good test. I'm not quite sure yet. They were able to turn it on in Columbia, South Carolina. They eked out a win on the road against the Gamecocks. And a big part of that was due to their running game. Utah State definitely wasn't going to test USC's defense with their running game. And Utah State just 200 total yards of offense. If USC shuts down Michigan's rushing attack, I'm not sure Michigan is built to win the game through the air. I know they're not. So a question for you. We're going to talk about this in the next segment. If you're Coach Lynn, what kind of adjustment or wrinkle do you bring on Saturday? Pretty good idea what they're going to do. I think they're going to make a defensive adjustment. We're going to talk about that next. It's Monday. It's my rough day. And by the time I get to lunch, I'm already tired. And like most people are, 70% of us, we get tired after lunch. We just hit the wall. I'm not sure why, food coma, whatever. We just don't like Mondays. But you know what? Let 5 Hour Energy, let them help. Let's get through that wall. Let's bust through it instead of crashing into it. Did you know that 5 Hour Energy has 0 sugar and it comes in a convenient portable size? It's the perfect pick-me-up for getting stuff done. Go to their website, the 5 Hour Energy website. They got all the different flavors you want. They got watermelon. They got grape. They got tropical burst. They got berry. They got everything. In fact, on that site, build a 12-pack. Build a 24-pack. Yeah, carry it like this. You choose the flavors, and 5 Hour Energy, they're going to deliver it right to your front door. All you have to do is go to the number 5hourenergy.com. That is the number 5hourenergy.com and get some of that product today. And if you use my promo code LOCKEDONUSC, you'll get to receive 20% off your order. Use your energy now. This offer is only valid until September 30th. Time's running out. And you can only use it on one order, and it cannot be used with other promotions. The code is also, it's not good on subscription orders. Go to the number 5hourenergy.com today and get yours today. I've been talking about it. The Wolverines, their fans, I think they need to accept the fact that Tom Brady, he ain't playing quarterback for you this year. Neither is J.J. McCarthy, the guy who played quarterback for you last year. If Michigan does not run the ball, if they can't run the ball against USC, they're not going to be, well, if they can't run the ball at all this year, they're not going to be very good. We know they can run against Arkansas State. We know that because, one, they had to. They ran it 44 times for over 300 yards. Again, mostly because they had to. And they had a size advantage up front. When the passing game wasn't working, they said, you know what, let's just go to our bread and butter. Let's just lean on those smaller guys, get out of here with a W. Arkansas State intercepted Michigan 3 times through the first 3 quarters. They have a terrible passing offense. I just don't know what to tell you. I don't even think Michigan fan can spin it any other way. They could try, but I'm just gonna probably laugh in your face. They threw as I said, they threw 3 more interceptions in this game against Arkansas State. Between Texas, their first game, Fresno State, and Texas, they had 3 between those 2 games. That's 6. Against the Wolves, just 130 yards through the air. That's not good. That's terrible. USC usually has something like that at the end of the first quarter through the air. Michigan's leading receiver is Colston Loveland. He's their star tight end, best option in the passing game. He's a junior. He leads the team in receptions. He also leads them in yards with 187. No one else on that team has more than 10 catches or 60 yards receiving. That tells you how anemic they are. Here's the problem for Michigan. Their leading receiver, Loveland, he's dealing with an injury to his shoulder. It required him to leave the game early. They didn't play the second half with him. Stats don't tell the whole story, but through their first 3 games, Michigan's offense ranks 106th out of 134 FBS teams. No bueno. And that's in total yards. They're 121st in passing yards, averaging 153. And again, 50th in rushing per game. They're still churning out 176 yards. That's a good number. That's why you don't look at where they are statistically in the rankings. You look at that, how many yards they're running per game. 176 yards, that'll get it done. The problem is defensively, Michigan, they haven't been able to they're just not that shutdown unit on defense right now. They're allowing 234 yards through the air, which, puts them towards the bottom half. And they are better against the run. They're only giving up 7 yards per game. But again, if Michigan focuses on stopping USC's run game, that's going to make USC's passing game that much more lethal. And as you can see, Michigan's already given up almost 235 yards per game. They played Texas, Fresno State, Arkansas State. Texas chewed them up. If I'm Coach Riley or Coach D'Anton Lynn, I'm thinking I'm going to force Michigan to pass the ball. I'm going to make an adjustment. What I'm going to do, I'm going to pull one of my defensive backs. I'm going to take the nickel off the field. I'm going to go 3 linebackers. I'm going to see how that works. I mean, seriously, do they have the wide receivers? Do they have an advantage over USC's cornerbacks? My immediate answer is no. I'll take Jalen Smith and Jacoby Covington against those guys. I'll take John Humphrey. I'll take the Carlos Nicholson, Prophet Brown. I like USC's guys. Kamari Ramsey, Achille Arnold, they're really good in pass coverage too, playing safety. Everybody is tackling well. The secondary is doing really good tackling in the open field. Coach Riley even talked about this last week. Let me give you a couple of quotes. We've tackled pretty well in the first 2 games. I think we've done a pretty decent job against the run. It's been fun to see our guys just come together. There's just a long ways to go, man. But shoot, we couldn't be more excited about what they're doing, the way we're playing defensively right now, the way we're flying around, and most importantly, the camaraderie that exists on that side of the ball. Pardon me. I think the most important thing to remember about this USC team and the defense, the players are just so much more confident. They love playing for D'Anton Lynn. They've talked about it. I've given you their quotes. Eric Gentry, it's like, I love it. Easton Mascarenas Arnold, check this out. In case you missed it on a previous episode of Locked On USC, this is why you need to be an everyday listener, everyday watcher. Easton said this. I think it's more so we have trust in him, referring to Coach D'Anton Lynn. Whatever he calls, we go out there and we execute to our best ability. I think it's that energy and the trust that he brought to us To be on this defense is a blessing. It's definitely the most fun I've had playing football in a very long time. It's a blessing to be on this team. And with Coach Riley, it's just an amazing feeling to be on this team, close quote. So you've got the vibes. The team is confident. They love this defensive concept, the scheme. So now you've got a team that's full of capable tacklers, willing tacklers. And we know that Michigan is not a team that likes to put the ball up in the air, right? So why not? Let's go 3 linebackers. Make Michigan throw the ball. Load the box, put 7, 8 guys in there, dare them to throw. Like I said, I've got full confidence in Jalen Smith out there. I got full confidence in Jacoby Covington out there. Those guys are sticky. They're like glue. They're not getting called for penalties. And I think this alignment also probably helps with it takes away from Michigan's RPO if they try and go with that. You're going to have less running space with more guys in the box. In theory, right? And I also think USC has more speed across the board than Michigan does. I think they're the more athletic team. And let's remember, Michigan, I want to emphasize this, Michigan does not have the personnel, specifically at quarterback, that's going to be able to take the top off USC's defense. They're not going to be able to throw it deep. USC just does not give up big plays. They haven't yet. It's basically going to come down to this. And we're going to talk about this USC-Michigan matchup throughout the week. But start the week off. If Michigan's offensive line can't get a push, essentially this is USC's game to lose. Period. Bottom line. The recipe for success on the road is very simple. It's a dash of don't turn the ball over. Continue to be disciplined. They're not committing penalties. I talked about it on an episode last week. USC's offensive line, I think they've committed 3 penalties this season. 2 illegal procedure penalties against LSU, 1 illegal hands to the face against Utah State. That's it. You play like that on the road against Michigan, it's going to be good times on that plane ride home. So be disciplined. Continue to keep the penalties to a minimum. Play defense. On offense, let Coach Riley just make the play calls. Miller Moss, he'll be out there. He'll be conducting the symphony. Spreading the ball around, handing the ball off to the running backs, using the tight ends. Letting those skill position guys on the outside do their thing. Again, I'll be talking about this game all week. But right now, I think you got to like USC's chances. We're going to talk about where USC is ranked. Not necessarily in the AP poll. We're going to talk about the coaches poll. How worthless it is. You've heard us talk about FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. We talk about it all the time. Well, we have something a little different for you now through September 22nd. All FanDuel customers, if you bet $5, you're going to get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket on YouTube and YouTube TV. Then, check this out. With the YouTube TV base plan, you'll be able to watch every regular season Sunday afternoon out-of-market game. Okay, did you catch that? All you need is a Google account and a current form of payment, and you can cancel at any time. Just visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to download America's #1 sportsbook. Normally I would say something like this for my Friday rant, but I got to get this out of the way. I'm just tired of it. It's a Monday too, and I need to get something off my chest. I hate Mondays. You know that by now. It's time to throw the freaking coaches poll into the round file, set it on fire, because if they're not going to take their vote seriously, let's get rid of the poll. I mean, what does it do? It doesn't factor into the college football playoffs, into their committee. It shouldn't. It better not be. It doesn't have any credibility. I mean, the AP poll has some credibility, but the coaches poll, it's terrible. That was my initial response when I saw the coach's poll that was released Sunday morning. Throw it in the trash basket, throw a match in there, and let's just end this charade. Enough of this crud. There is so much bias built into the coach's poll. It's ridiculous. First of all, tell me this. Especially if the coaches are the actual ones doing the voting. If you need one reason to get rid of this thing, tell me, when do these coaches have time to watch film, review everything? By the time their game ended on Saturday, and by the time the poll is released on Sunday morning. Exactly. They're looking at the scoreboard. That's it. There's no rational thought that they're putting into their vote that they're submitting. None whatsoever. Look, like I said, the poll has no bearing on anything, so let's just get rid of it. They don't hand out a national championship anymore. It's the College Football Playoff Committee. It's that poll. That's the only one that matters. The AP poll, it matters because it's been around since 1936, and they still will name a national champion, even though it's now done through the 12-team playoff system. But let's look at the top 10 that the coaches released on Sunday. Georgia at number 1. Okay. Texas at number 2. I would flip-flop those two. Georgia hasn't looked like the number 1 team yet. Texas looks legit. Ohio State at 3. I'm fine there. Bama at 4. Hey, you know what? They went on the road and they kicked the snot out of Wisconsin in Madison. I'm fine with them at number 4. Ole Miss at 5. Sure. Haven't beat anybody yet, but you're good. Oregon at number 6. Are you kidding me? Tennessee 7, Penn State and Missouri are tied at number 8. And then you got Utah at number 10. Again, what? Why? Who? The rest of the top 25. Miami 11, USC finally number 12. They actually dropped a spot. Oklahoma 13, Kansas State 14. Oklahoma State dropped a spot to 15. LSU jumps up to 16 because of that come from behind win at Columbia, South Carolina. Michigan drops to 17. I told you about that earlier. Michigan back up to number 18. Clemson at 19. Louisville 20. Iowa State 21. Nebraska 22. Memphis, Texas A&M, and UNLV jumps 9 spots. They round out the top 25. So, I need every single freaking coach that voted. Why is Oregon number 6? What made that win against Oregon State so impressive? Did we forget about Oregon's struggles against the state of Idaho? Crying out loud. This is why I cannot stand the coaches poll. Why is Utah at 10? Because they went on the road and beat Utah State? So what? See how many points Utah gave up? Forget USC shut out Utah State the week before, coaches? Why did USC drop? Explain that one to me. Anyways, that's all I want to say about the coaches poll. Let's just burn it down. Get rid of it. It's just even the fans think it's a joke. Tell me why you have Georgia above Texas. What has impressed you about Georgia this year? Texas is legit. They went on the road and they beat Michigan, the defending national champions. Granted, Michigan isn't the same team as last year, but Texas dominated that game. And then what do? Their starting quarterback goes down, and they don't skip a beat offensively. You got to give some credit to that. Texas should be the number 1 team in the country. Period. They are on the AP poll. Coaches, you guys lost all credibility. Whoever's doing the voting, your SID, assistant coach, whoever, person who gets you coffee, stop it. You're making a mockery out of it. You don't deserve to have your vote. All right. That's it. I'm done. That's it for this episode of Locked on USC. I'll be back again with another episode tomorrow. We do this 5 times a week, sometimes even more, especially when USC plays. So you're going to be getting more episodes of Locked on USC this week. We'll have a reaction show after the Michigan game. Don't forget, when you're done making Locked on USC your first listen every day, if you are watching on YouTube, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Smash that thumbs up. Click that bell notification so you don't miss an episode. But when you're done with this show, head on over to wearesc.com. And don't forget about Locked on College Football. You want to get all your bases covered, head on over to Locked on College Football. Cool show on YouTube. Spencer McLaughlin, he'll Sherpa you. He'll get you up the mountain. He'll figure it out for you. So until that next episode of Locked on USC, everyone, you know what to do.